Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the Rangers Reviews post-match briefing. It's myself and Chris Jack speaking about a positive Rangers win. A clean sheet feels out of context in this season, Chris, but Rangers did, with the help of a red card and a penalty, managed to get back to winning ways today in Paisley. Stephen Davis earns his first win as Rangers interim manager. Could be his last game. Remains to be seen as Rangers head into the international break. We're going to break down the game in a quick podcast today. Obviously, we'll have a more in-depth look tomorrow in the morning briefing. Lots of coverage on the website from the game if you want to check that out as well. And remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already over on the website. But Chris, first and foremost, pretty routine. That word, again, hasn't been used much in relation to Rangers yesterday. And they were helped, I think, by that red card. It did change the game. But if you'd given them this possibility before the game, I think Stephen Davis would have bitten your hand off for that, wouldn't he have?
Fairly mundane, routine, straightforward wins. That's the type of win that title challenges are built upon. Unfortunately, we've shot ourselves in the foot too often already this season, and it's now like a last chance saloon for that. Rangers are just about in it, I think, in terms of the title now. Anything dropped today, and that would have been it. It would have been done and dusted, obviously. 7 points, new manager coming in after the international break. Who knows? I still think it's highly unlikely. I'd still be surprised if Rangers have it in them, because this is a squad that not as pleasing as today was in many regards. It's a squad that hasn't shown enough over the first half of the season. There's still huge questions over a number of members of the squad, still huge questions over this group of players, and whether they have it in them to go and challenge Celtic for the title. From what we've seen so far, they don't. This is not going to be a statement of intent victory, but I think it was an important one for Stephen Davis. I feel pleased for him that he's managed to get it, because as we spoke about in the aftermath of Thursday night, he was badly let down by the players over in Cyprus. He deserved better than that. If this does prove to be his final game in charge, which as far as we're aware it will be, pleased that he's managed to sign off on a win, a fairly routine one, but certainly a pleasing one for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start with the game, because the thing, an apathy, I guess, is pretty present at the moment, Chris. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. And you look at the banner today in the away section, fans are understandably and justifiably disgruntled, but it's still important to get that win, because unlike last season, Michael Beale came in when Rangers were 9 points ahead behind. Whoever comes in to succeed Michael Beale will be 7 points behind, but it could have been 10. And I think coming into the game today, there was St Mirren were confident. They're unbeaten. They've started the season well. I think they're the only unbeaten side in the Premiership so far, if I'm right in saying that. So they were in a good place coming into this game, and Rangers weren't, I think, to put it mildly. Let's talk about the team. Zach Lovelace made a good impact. I thought Ross McCausland did as well. Who else stood out for you today, Chris? And obviously Tavernier steps up with those 2 strikes. We'll come on to speak about him as well.
Two goals from Tavernier obviously merit him a notable mention. Another clean sheet for Jack Butland. Again, just head and shoulders above everybody in terms of the summer signings. I thought he played well again. I thought Sima looked bright and stages. At first, on first viewing, I thought he'd missed an absolute sitter when that ball from Lovelace came across. It was only once the replays then came through, you realised that also Ryan Strain had handled it, because I was getting ready to slaughter Sima for somehow missing from what must have been like 3-4 yards out. I thought it was fairly comfortable. Overall for Rangers, I don't think there was outstanding contributions from anyone, but unlike midweek, we're not talking about raft upon raft of failures and just a lack of effort and a lack of quality. Overall, it was a fairly decent showing. You mentioned the 2 youngsters there, Josh. I think they certainly merit a conversation. Lovelace has earned that chance. You look at the obviously there's a whole host of injuries in that area of the pitch, but he's been here for a long time now. He's been around the first team squad. He knows what it takes. And I thought that first 40 minutes he was really impressive. Unfortunately, picked up a hamstring injury just a couple of minutes before the break, and the manager said afterwards that he's at half time he was a bit down, and understandably so, because a great afternoon for him. He came in, he contributed to the first goal. And you can understand why he's feeling a bit down. But Stephen did say that he was a bit more upbeat at the end of the game. So hopefully that injury is not a serious one, because that would be a real shame for the lad after a really impressive at the start of the game. In terms of Ross McCausland, he then comes in, gets his chance. It was a big call for the manager. It'd been an easy thing to do, having started with the youngster, to then say, right, we'll go and put Dessers on, we'll go and put Lammers on. It's another big call to having made the first decision. You stick with the youth policy. You give Ross McCausland his chance. He was one of the few, probably the only bright spark from Thursday night. I thought he did well when he came on over in Cyprus. And again, he looks really bright, really energetic, quite a clever player. Right, he linked up well with Tav down that right hand side. And if Rangers didn't have this international break coming up, you'd now be happy with Ross McCausland playing next week. You would say he's done enough and he keeps his jersey. Obviously, by the time the Hibs game comes around, who knows? No, there's going to be a new manager in place. Also, that break gives players a chance, like say Danilo to come back, Todd Cantwell hopefully to come back, Matondo maybe. So I think the youngsters will find it difficult again in terms of getting in the squad. But I think they did show that, at a certain level they can be trusted.
Yeah.
Coming here against a Burnside that are in a good place, that fancied their chances, and both of them did well. So I think plenty for them both to take away from it, and I say hopefully it's not a really sore one for Zach Lovelace.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you're right, Chris, because the team selection in and of itself is a talking point, isn't it? The fact that I think David spoke about it in his press conference, which you can obviously watch on the YouTube channel, the fact that they needed a bit of freshness in those areas. I thought Lovelace he was more direct, and it was that direct running with the ball that obviously led to the penalty and the sending off, which really swung the game in Rangers' favour. But to then go and pick out another academy product as well, I thought it was telling. You can't say it's not. Whoever comes in to succeed, Beale obviously has a number of good players to work with, but I don't think we can look beyond the fact of Butland and Sima. You've not got any summer signings, and obviously Danilo's had his injury issues, but you've got a lot of summer signings who you need to get the best out of. And one of those who has hit the ground running, we spoke about Jack Butland a lot. Abdallah Sima, heard the stat on Sky that he scored in his last 6 starts for Rangers. He's already scored 7 goals for Rangers. I think he has parts to his game where sometimes it's tempting to think that he can be too clumsy, or at times he can lose the ball too easily. But I think what he's offered Rangers in response, it far outweighs that. He's a goal threat. I think he looks a lot more comfortable in a Rangers shirt now. I think even when it's telling, Chris, that the Aberdeen game, the second half, how many times we watched a half of Rangers in the last couple of seasons, and even though they've got the time to come back into it, it just almost feels like the players themselves have resigned themselves to defeat. Whereas I thought Sima, maybe he's just not been around the place long enough because he's not had those defeats. But freshness on a serious point is positive, because he was. I guess you could see when he scored that goal against Aberdeen, he still believed that Rangers could turn it around. And I know that's a small detail, but I think you can see that he is growing into his role at Rangers. He has scored a number of goals, and he is starting to, with I guess that greater level of comfort in a Rangers shirt, show more of what he's about, which is a goal threat from out wide, a direct kind of physical running threat, and 6 goals in the last 6 starts. That's pretty good for a new signing, isn't it? Once he's got up to speed.
I think you can safely say he's taken over the Fashion Sakala role within the Rangers squad. Someone who is pacey, who is direct, who can cause teams endless problems with his pace, but who has moments where you're tearing your hair out because he does that things. Now, like the one we've all seen on Thursday night, and they're trying to put the cross in and it goes straight out the park. I think he's got that. I think he's got that in him. He's clearly got ability. He's clearly got something about him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be at Brighton. He wouldn't be as highly rated as he was when he got that move. He's been talked about for a long time as a player that's got a potentially bright future in the game. And as you say, Josh, crucially, he's providing numbers, because it's a Rangers attack and a Rangers side that don't look threatening enough, that haven't scored enough goals. And I think if somebody had offered him his goal return before he kicked the ball this season, you would say, no, that's going to be encouraging. That could play a part in a successful Rangers side. Now, ultimately, it's not come from round about him. There's not been enough goals from Dessers and Lammers. Danilo, obviously, we know all about the issues in terms of the forward line. But I think it does give a manager that's going to come in a bit of confidence that if he can fix those problems, if he can get Danilo fit and firing, if you can somehow get a tune out of Lammers and Dessers, which we've all got an opinion on whether that's possible or not, even then, if you get to January and you can try and refresh that forward line again, I think Sima's shown enough to suggest he's actually got something. It's sod's law for Rangers. It has to be the one that we've only got on loan, rather than one of the ones we've gone and spent £3, £4, £5 million on. That's turning out to be a kind of important player in this. And this forward line, I think we'll probably only have Sima until the end of the season. But if he can keep chipping in, he's probably on target for 15, 18 goals.
Yeah.
And that is a big contribution from someone who, when all the signings were made, we didn't really expect that from him. It was meant to be Lammers and Dessers and Danilo that were going to be the main goal getters on this side. So I think he's definitely raw. There's definitely mistakes in him. There's definitely times where he's going to not contribute to games at all, but he keeps chipping.
No. Just lost you at the very end there, Chris, but we got the point. Listen, we're gonna leave it there. There's going to be lots of content on the website today. Chris it'll be a busy week, put it that way, with lots more coverage on the potential next Rangers manager, looking at candidates, looking back a little bit more in detail at this game, but more looking forward now to where Rangers are, what type of manager they need, what type of manager they're going to get. I think, as I say, Chris, I'm sure you agree with me that it'll be one of the busier weeks you've had this year.
Every week's a busy week when you're writing about Rangers, Josh. I've been busy for the last 15 years or so now. No, as I say, some weeks are naturally busier than others. The international break can sometimes be a wee chance to take stock and regroup and go again for players, managers, and pressmen alike. But the Rangers squad will get their break, but we certainly won't over the next couple of weeks. It's shaping up to be an interesting few days for Rangers. All building up also to that Hibs game in a couple of weeks, but it'll certainly be interesting. It'll certainly be busy, and there's going to be plenty of content with video, obviously, and all our pieces on the website. So hopefully we can keep everybody up to speed, and time will tell what the future holds.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't put it better myself. Well, remember to join us tomorrow morning, folks, 9:30, for more detailed look back at this game, more updates on the Rangers managerial situation as we build into the international break, which will be a busy one, as Chris says. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks for joining us, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.